The whole idea is to get out of the U.S. dollar, to get out of a currency that is on the verge of collapse. Because the people who don't get out, that just think they're playing it safe, that don't want to take any risk, so they keep their money in the dollar, they are going to be broke. They're going to be completely broke, and that is obvious. It's obvious to me that that's what's going to happen. And this is pure inflation, Latin American style. This is hyperinflation. This is Zimbabwe. This is the identical monetary policy. This is what the Weimar Republic did, and we're going to have the same result. And I am 100% convinced that anybody who has their wealth in U.S. dollars will be just as broke as the people who have their money with Madoff. It's not going to matter. It is going to be destroyed. And I don't know how much time you have. You know, with the dollar dropping 5% a week at this point, I don't know. Could the dollar snap back a little bit? Sure, of course. But what if it keeps falling? What if it's down 5% next week and 5% the week after that? And then what if it drops 10% and another 10%? Who knows? You know, at some point, a year or two from now, the dollar could be dropping 5% a day. You know that the inflation rate in Zimbabwe is over 100 million% per year. I can't even calculate what that is. But you know what? It didn't start off that bad. The dollar is now sinking on its own weight, and it's going to drop like a stone. And, you know, there's not a lot of time.
So I'll keep exposing all these clowns with their media celebrity, but hopefully you saw the video on Meredith Whitney. It's very important, folks. If you think she's the only person, I'm telling you she's not. It's a typical pattern from the media. Every single person that they hype up, oh, they did this, they predicted this. I'm telling you right now, it's not true. In some situations, depending upon what they're talking about, they'll tell you, for instance, oh, well, Stanley Druckenmiller, he's a great fun. Or Jeremy Grantham. I did an article, actually, let me show you guys. I did an article showing this guy's a broken clock clown. He's been calling for a collapse in the market for 12 years, like Michael Burry. You listen to the media, and by the way, YouTube is a billion times worse than the media. All these YouTube fake investment gurus get their shit from the media. So it's funny. So you can see here, I typed in Peter Schiff, and guess what? Take a look. Remember what I told you earlier about Peter Schiff's been on YouTube for, I don't know, 13, 14 years, and given all the media exposure he's got, all the, you know, he's pumped everywhere, and he still doesn't, he only has 500, 600,000 subscribers. Why is that? Because he's tapped out the emotionally distraught, low IQ weirdos. And so the only way he's going to grow his channel is he's going to have to suck in some of the younger crowd that's not familiar with his bullshit and his terrible track record. Therefore, guess what he's doing? He's advertising. You see that? You see that? He's advertising. So the stealth bull market that Wall Street hasn't figured out yet. So Peter's whole thing is that everyone's wrong and he's always right. And the problem is that he's always wrong. He's always wrong. And the media keeps pumping him. Folks, this is media fraud. The media, and that lady, she's a fraud. She's a fraudster. Complete piece of trash. These people are lying to you. And I've got countless examples. Market Watch, CNBC, Barron's, Fox, they're all lying when they claim these guys predicted this and that. Folks, I've shown the track records. I'm going to show you a performance of his funds. Before we go into the funds, I'm going to show you some I mean, I've got hundreds and hundreds of these. These are just kind of what I found in one of my recent folders. So this is I would track Peter Schiff's funds every few years. And so you can see this is one of his funds. It's an international dividend fund. And this is from inception back, I guess, sometime in 2013. And this is through October 10th, 2021. Take a look. Peter Schiff will never go up against me on a neutral platform. Okay? Because he knows I've got his number. He knows I'm a top pro. What's he going to do? You see, Peter Schiff only goes up against snowflakes and like just dimwits. You think I'm going to back down to this guy? He won't do it. You see, Peter Schiff's kryptonite, his kryptonite is the truth. He will never go up against someone who's going to speak the truth and expose him. because he lives off of perception, false perception that's created from his media buddies. You understand? Media celebrity status, the same gimmick that they pull with all these reality TV shows. You understand? Shark Tank, all these people on Shark Tank are fucking frauds and failures and con artists. They're trying to reboot their career. Why do you think they're on Shark Tank? Why do you think Donald Trump did Apprentice for 12 years or whatever? He was doing no fucking business. He was making all his money on Apprentice. People that are successful aren't on TV. They don't have TV series. But the media is going to tell you, oh, well, they're great. And same thing with all these reality TV shows. Mark Cuban has never been successful. The guy's a clown. He's got a lot of money, but he was never successful. Mark Cuban was on there because he wants to get... Mark Cuban's been trying to get popular to run for president now for 10 years. He doesn't realize that people just don't like him. They don't like... Why do you think he stepped down from the Mavericks? Think about that. He sold his fans down the drain. Can you imagine having, a couple $1 billion or so in net worth, and you're such a money worshiper, you're such a greedy scumbag, and you're so stupid that you would actually risk destroying the brand of your own sports team by pitching a cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme, Voyager, which is what he did. It takes someone of real stupidity to do that, and greed. So take a look here. This is Peter Schiff's International Dividend Fund. Now, if you like international stocks, by the way, Peter Schiff pushes international stocks. Well, maybe you want VT. Okay? If you like VT, then maybe you're a Peter Schiff guy. VOO, folks, S&P. There's no need to bet on countries that are at the bottom and trying to climb up to America. America's the top. America runs the world. They run the world in every aspect, in education, in terms of higher education, innovation, technology, military, and believe it or not, even though it doesn't seem this way, they still lead the world in freedom. Okay? It's just that freedom from around the world has gone down a lot. So why would you invest in anything but the U.S.? Well, because you're just fucking stupid. That's the reality. One of the good things, actually, and this is why it's terrible to rescind your U.S. citizenship. One of the great things about America is the ability to earn money in the financial markets. You don't have that ability in many parts of the world. Okay? Believe it or not, you don't have that ability. In developing countries, in emerging countries, they mostly invest in real estate and gold. Okay? They don't have credible stock markets. They don't have credible... Most of these countries that have stock markets it's kind of bullshit. It's not even real stock markets. Okay? I mean, that's the reality. If you don't have rule of law, you can't have a stock market. If you're a communist country, you can't have a real stock market. Think about it for a second. What is a stock market? It's ownership, right? Private ownership of assets, of businesses, of companies. Communism, it's illegal. You can't do that. Right? You understand? I exposed Jim. Jim Cramer's a softball. I exposed him he was one of the first I exposed 15 years ago. Did many videos, articles on him. Jim Cramer used to have, he used to spruik one of his, let's call them relatives. Let's say relatives. The guy's name is Farber. He spruiked him on CNBC, and he was also on the street. I've got the original videos. You can't find them anywhere. On the street, his Boiler Room newsletter company, by which, by the way, if you want to see racial discrimination, take a look at all the people who work there. It's the same with most of the media, by the way. This is what I've been observing for many years. It's racial discrimination. I'll probably get flagged for hate speech for saying, I'm discriminated against, right? That's as bad as things have gotten. His name was, I forgot his first name, but Farber. He was a psychic. He was a weirdo. You can look for him on, he probably has his channel still on YouTube. He's a weirdo. You can just look at the guy and tell he's a weirdo. Jim Cramer, I kid you not, was, and Through the Street, which was called thestreet.com, which, as I mentioned in an earlier stream, this was a company that was committed accounting fraud and had to be delisted. This was a company that spruiked this Farber guy who was a psychic. And Jim Cramer on CNBC and The Street publication, they promoted this guy. He can pick stocks. He's a psychic. He's going to tell you what's going to happen. I kid you not. I've got the videos. Okay. I exposed this a long time ago. He also spruiked, you might remember, the pro baseball player, Tough as Nails. What's the guy's name? As a stock genius. I've got the videos of that as well. Okay. He called him one of the great ones. Jim Cramer called this airhead. He's a complete airhead. I mean, the guy has been hit over the head too many times. I mean, or done too many drugs or something. You can tell when you listen to him. Yeah, Lenny Dykstra. Lenny Dykstra. Look up Lenny Dykstra. They even did some documentaries on this guy. Jim Cramer was promoting this guy as a stock genius. And it turns out he was actually being fronted. He was getting options calls he was being given the calls from someone else. It was a scam. And Dykstra ended up filing for bankruptcy and, all these things. He went to jail. All this complete fucking fraud. Okay. In fact, the Young Turks did a thing on him, I think. Yeah. Make sure and watch this later and then look into his story. Okay. I mean, it just tells you, folks, this is what we're talking about. The media is a complete scam enterprise. Okay. I'm telling you, YouTube is a billion times worse. YouTube is amateur media. Let's get back to Mr. Schiff here. And I must say, Peter is, over the years, his dark red appearance is, I don't know. It looks like Peter has been drinking some alcohol. This is kind of what it looks like to me. Maybe I'm wrong. By the way, I've done a video on this two-part series. This Raoul Paul is a complete fraudster, complete liar, complete con man, and he's also a cryptocurrency disaster. And this guy as well, this Billy U guy, he's another one of these. He's promoted by Joe Rogan, so he's a fucking scammer. Okay, folks, look and see, once again, if you want to detect the scammers, the bullshit artists, take a look at who they hang with. Anybody Joe Rogan is promoting is full of shit. Joe Rogan is the modern day Alex Jones. He's promoting disinfo. Okay, let me show you now. Let me get back to Peter Schiff. So we saw this. So let's take a look here. This is Peter Schiff's International Dividend Fund. Okay. It's down 12.5% since inception from 2013 to 2021. We'll take a look at it here shortly. Here's GLD. That's the gold ETF that outperforms Schiff's gold fund. And then the S&P 500. Take a look. The red, 177%. Okay. Let's take a look at another one. This is the Schiff Gold, Europac Gold Fund versus GLD, which is the gold ETF. So the Europac Gold Fund underperformed GLD. GLD outperformed the Euro-Pacific Gold Fund by more than 100%. It more than doubled its performance. Look at that, 15% versus almost 35%. This is since inception 2013 through the end of 2021. Think about that. Versus the S&P 178%. Now, why am I even mentioning the S&P 500, by the way? Because I know what Schiff's going to tell you. He's going to say, well, you got to look at the MSCI benchmark. By the way, you're not going to hear this by anybody else, probably. You all know MSCI? That's the benchmarking company. It stands for Morgan Stanley Composite Index. It used to be Morgan Stanley launched a long time ago, and they sold it off. It's kind of like S&P. They work with S&P. They have all the benchmarks. It's kind of a scam. It's basically a way for funds to, there's no need for a benchmark for everything. Okay? I'm not going to get into that right now, but let me continue with this. Let me show you more here. So, here's one. there are hundreds and hundreds of these calls that I have. I've got them in my archives. So back in October 24th, 2009, you can look it up. This is from an interview. See, that's the only good thing about ScamTube, is that the only good thing is that you can archive old news articles, old news reports from CNBC and so on and so forth to point to someone's track record. Now, it doesn't work with people like Meet Kevin and so on and so forth because they delete their videos, they hide their videos, or in the case of Tom Nash and Graham Stephan, they re-edit their videos. I'm going to be releasing the Graham Stephan video where he splices out his endorsement of FTX, which is actually illegal. Graham Stephan, I caught this last year. Graham Stephan has violated the law. He's guilty of evidence tampering. And I actually looked up the law in Nevada. Evidence tampering. You're tampering with evidence. Graham Stephan is being investigated. He's also in a class action lawsuit. He's being investigated by the securities regulators because of, he was involved in FTX, which is, selling unregistered securities. Therefore, he's tampering with evidence. He has removed endorsements he has done in his videos where he's endorsing FTX. Dennis, I don't discuss, and I will never discuss any research on YouTube. Okay? I will never do that. I'm a professional. I don't give my shit for free. Okay? I'm not going to do that ever. Okay? And I'm also doing that because I don't want you to think you can get research on YouTube because you can't do it. You understand? You want an answer to something. Okay? So if I give you an answer, okay, what happens in 3 months or 4 months when something changes? And you don't know about it because you're not following my research. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? Okay? There's no set in stone. Research is subject to change constantly based upon new information and new analysis. You understand? Right? When I forecast the S&P back in June of 2023, when Wall Street was still predicting a recession and a collapse in the market, remember Wall Street, and you can look this up if you don't believe me. Look, Wall Street came out in the third week of November of 2023 with their bullish forecasts in the market for 2024. Only the third week in November, second to third week. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs held off. Goldman Sachs came out at the end of December. They had egg all over their face. Morgan Stanley now is in a conundrum, which I can talk about later on. They still haven't raised their forecast from 4,200. That's why they got rid of, what's his name? Their chief strategist, Mike, I forgot his name. They got rid of the guy, and they claimed, oh, well, he's going to institutional because he cost so many people money. My point is, when I came out 5.5 months ahead of Wall Street with my forecast of the beginning of 2024 of S&P 4,800, the S&P was 4,100, okay? Now, of course, I've since revised my forecast. But you understand my point? Forecast research is subject to change. Okay? So when you ask somebody about something, it's not, telling you something now is not going to do you any good. Other than if I give you a broad, longer term analysis, such as, what I said before a couple of years ago when I talked about China's in deep trouble. And when China will recover from this real estate and financial crisis. It hasn't hit a financial crisis yet, but trust me, China's in deep trouble. Just that you guys don't realize it because their markets are closed. You see, they can hide a lot of what's going on. Eventually, they're going to have to print a lot of currency, and their currency is going to get in trouble. But China, once they get out of this, eventually they will. Life goes on. That's not the big problem for China. The big problem for China is its long-term future, its long-term fate is very problematic. Now, if you're a simpleton chump, then you're going to say, oh, it's demographics. No, it's actually not demographics. Okay, it's not demographics. That's just one piece of the puzzle. Anyway, so take a look here. In 2009, October, this was basically about 4 months after the market bottoms, 5 months, whatever, from March 10th, 2009, when the Dow hit 6,500, which I predicted in my book, by the way, chapter 17 of the 2006 original book, I talked about a Dow 6,500 2 years before, 2.5 years before it happened. And then I wrote on that day to start buying for the first time. In other words, I wasn't telling people to buy all the way down. That was the first time. Yes, I nailed the bottom. Peter Schiff is coming out. You can see where the dollar was obviously the dollar collapsed close to the stock market. The dollar collapsed. Peter Schiff is coming out and saying the dollar is going to continue to collapse. And it's going to be worthless. Okay, it's going to be worthless. Hyperinflation, he's saying.
The whole idea is to get out of the U.S. dollar, to get out of a currency that is on the verge of collapse. Because the people who don't get out, that just think they're playing it safe, that don't want to take any risk, so they keep their money in the dollar, they are going to be broke. They're going to be completely broke, and that is obvious. It's obvious to me that that's what's going to happen. And this is pure inflation, Latin American style. This is hyperinflation. This is Zimbabwe. This is the identical monetary policy. This is what the Weimar Republic did, and we're going to have the same result. It is sheer bullshit. They're just trying to scare us into thinking that the government needs to save us. Would anybody get on a plane if they knew the pilot didn't know how to fly? Right? Would you want to go on a plane if you knew going in the guy flying the plane was completely clueless? He was just going to wing it? You know, no pun intended. Would you get on that plane? Of course not. Well, and I am 100% convinced that anybody who has their wealth in U.S. dollars will be just as broke as the people who have their money with Madoff. It's not going to matter. It is going to be destroyed. And I don't know how much time you have. You know, with the dollar dropping 5% a week at this point, I don't know. Could the dollar snap back a little bit? Sure, of course. But what if it keeps falling? What if it's down 5% next week and 5% the week after that? And then what if it drops 10% and another 10%? Who knows? You know, at some point, a year or two from now, the dollar could be dropping 5% a day. You know that the inflation rate in Zimbabwe is over 100 million% per year. I can't even calculate what that is. But you know what? It didn't start off that bad. The dollar is now sinking on its own weight, and it's going to drop like a stone. And, you know, there's not a lot of time. The bonds are going to collapse. Nobody's going to want them because the money's going to have no value. I mean, think about it, right? What's worse than owning a dollar today? Having the promise to be paid $1 in 30 years.
Fortunately, you've got the live video records there on YouTube. You can't hide from the truth anymore.
Anybody old enough to remember the hyperinflation? Peter Schiff continued that hyperinflation narrative for many, 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 many years. I'm unsure when he officially kind of stopped it. I don't think he really has because, you know, now that we have inflation, he brings back the hyperinflation thing. And I wrote an article why it's virtually impossible. Folks, hyperinflation is virtually impossible in America, okay, for many reasons. I'm not going to get into that. When you want to talk hyperinflation, you talk about destabilized countries, okay? And the gold pumpers always bring up the ridiculous analogy of Germany. They don't talk about what happened to Germany and the situation with Germany then, okay? They don't talk about all that stuff. That's completely different. Okay. So what happened to the dollar? Worthless? Wow. It soared. It soared. Right? I kid you not. He said it's going to be worthless due to hyperinflation. Okay. Tell me Peter Schiff's not selling fear. Tell me he's not selling fear. Okay. Now, if you go through and listen to Peter Schiff's rants over the years, and I have a good amount of footage, video, audio, and pictorial. If you go through and listen to that, and you listen to the type of nonsense, for instance, gold protects the value of your currency. Anybody remember Peter Schiff with his Valcambi, selling his Valcambi scam? When gold was $17.50 back in 2012 or so, he told you need to buy the Valcambi bar because you can break it off in little pieces and you can spend it. You can, when the prices of everything hyperinflates, and you won't have to worry paying for gas. You can just break off a piece of that gold. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? I did a video on that. Come on. I need to re-upload these videos. They're on my website. Okay. Should I show you guys that? Should we take it? Should I show you? I think I should show you guys. I think I should find it and show you. Because I want to make a point here about Peter Schiff's marketing tactic, his fear, selling fear. Now, let me just mention, if you listen to one of the telltale signs of a con artist, they try and sell you a sense of urgency. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. I've got it here. Let's go ahead and take a look. So this is the Valcambi. Okay, this is the Valcambi. This little thing, little gold thing you break in little pieces. Basically, it was to pitch the idea that you can use it for currency. Okay, can you believe this? This is what he was pitching. He's telling you should buy it at the price of gold today. I think it's like $17.50 when he was pitching this. He was telling you, you can buy it and you can protect the value of your currency when we get hyperinflation. Well, it didn't really work out that way. Let's take a look.
Hi, everybody. This is Peter Schiff from Euro Pacific Precious Metals, and I am holding in my hand the most innovative precious metals product that I've ever seen. This is called the Valcambi Combi Bar, and it's manufactured by the Swiss refiner Valcambi, and it's all the rage in Europe. It started in 2011, and it's just making its way to the United States. And it's kind of like a little chocolate bar. The Swiss are known for their chocolate, except this isn't made of milk chocolate or dark chocolate. It's made of pure gold. And what...
You hear that? Pure gold. So take a look. March 26, 2013. We're going to show you the price of gold. Show you the price of gold so you can have an idea here. Okay, so this is the 20-year chart. Here we are, right here. Here's where gold was, okay? See that? Towards the peak. And look what happened. It collapsed and was down for it took almost 10 years to get back to where it was. Okay? So I want to show you that. So go ahead and listen. It's like a chocolate bar.
Makes it like a chocolate bar is it has these little tiny little squares that you can break off. The bar in itself is 50 grams of 0.9999 fine gold, which is about 1.6 ounces. But you can break it up into 50 1-gram bars, and they're all identical and they're all marked. Now, at today's price of gold, about $1,600 an ounce, the melt value of this bar, is about $2,500. And that means each individual 1-gram bar is worth about $50. I can take this bar gold, I could just put it here in my wallet with my other credit cards, and I can close it up, put it in my pocket, and I've got $2,500 in my wallet, and I can spend as little as $50 worth at a time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate exactly how you go about breaking your Valcambi Combi Bar. I'm going to break off one bar.
I'm not going to listen to them. I'm going to talk while he's doing this. I mean, can you imagine? Can you believe this? He's trying to, think about this. He's trying to convince people to use this little gold thing and carry $2,500 in their wallet and break it off. Who's going to take it? Who's going to take it? Show me who's going to take it at the store.
5-gram stick. That's $250. This little strip right here, all by itself, is worth $250. Now, as you want to spend this little strip, what you can do is you can break it down further one at a time. So I'm just going to snap one off,
Okay, great.
this. If you take a Who knows?
Notice
$50.
notice how like he's dumbing this down. Like, here's what you do: you snap this off. He knows his audience, folks. These guys know their audience. They're fucking stupid people. That's the audience. You know.
Federal Reserve note. Today they both have the same purchasing power. Who knows what tomorrow holds, but I know that this little gram has real intrinsic value, and it represents all the effort required to mine it. What about this 50? Nothing. The Fed runs them off the printing press. It doesn't cost much. It doesn't matter what number they put on the bill. Here's a $100 bill. There's no real difference between 100 and 50. They're the same size. It costs the same amount to make this bill as that bill.
You hear that? Can you believe that? He's telling you it's the same. A 50 and 100 are the same. There's no difference. I mean, when you're telling people these times, can you imagine this guy's a financial advisor? I mean, how is he not barred from the industry with all the ridiculous things he said over the years? There's no difference in a 50 and 100. They're the same size. Folks, let me just tell you, the gold lunatics will tell you gold has intrinsic value because it costs money to produce it. Guess what? It costs money for me to produce farts. Okay? And certain farts that I create, are really smelly. And guess what? That's when I eat really expensive caviar. Okay? Are those farts worth anything because it costs a lot more to produce? No, they're not. They're not worth shit. Gold doesn't have any intrinsic value because it does not produce a cash flow. Peter Schiff doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. FYI. That's just one of the many myths I've dispelled over the years. These gold bugs, which of course, why they won't ever confront me on a neutral platform. By the way, tell Peter, I won't trash you. If you want to debate me, I'll be respectful to you. I might laugh at you. Okay, you're used to that though, but I will respect you for coming. But I know for a fact you would never debate me because you know that you're outarmed, you're outmanned, and the whole purpose for you is you want to convince people to sell them. I don't have anything to sell. I'm not selling anything. You're always trying to sell people stuff.
They require the same effort, but if I want 100 worth of gold, I need twice as much gold. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to break off another one of these little pieces, right? I'm going to have to take this strip and I'm going to have to break it off like so. Boom. There we go. Now there's 3 left here. And now I've got 2 pieces. That's worth $100. Why is that worth $100? Because it's twice as much gold. You have to find twice as much. It takes twice the effort. This $100 bill is not worth twice that $50 bill. That's what we mean by saying intrinsic value.
No, you're wrong. Sorry. So you hear that, folks? His quote logic is, well, you've got 150 and 100. They're the same. It's one piece of paper. It took the same amount of effort to produce each one. But with gold, you've got one little piece, it's 50, and another. If you want 100, you have 2 pieces. I mean, folks, here's the thing. And by the way, all these gold bugs out there, they were told so many things when gold was collapsing many years ago after the peak, which I predicted. I predicted the peak when Alex Jones and Max Kaiser were out pumping it. And I actually wrote about while I was selling my gold and silver. But the point is that when the gold continued to collapse and stayed low for a long time, that kind of fizzled the whole gold pumping scene. And during that time, that's when cryptocurrency started to take off. And I'll get to that maybe some other time. How it's really funny how I love it how the cryptocurrency market did everything that Peter Schiff and the gold pumpers tried to do. Peter Schiff and the gold pumpers tried to make gold mainstream with all their bullshit. And actually, cryptocurrency did exactly that. And that's why Peter's so pissed off now at cryptocurrencies. But first and foremost, he's pissed off. You know why? Because he can't make money selling cryptocurrencies. You understand? He can make money selling gold. But he can't make any money selling cryptocurrencies. That's what it's all about. Whatever he can make money selling, that's what he's all about, folks. Okay? He's not about anything else. This guy is He's a money magnet. He worships money. He doesn't give a shit about being wrong, about being honest, about doing good for people. Based upon his funds, I mean, look at the funds. I mean, why are you still running these funds? We're going to take a look here shortly. All he cares about is filling his fat ass pockets. And you have people that live and die for this guy. They'll take a bullet for him because they're so fooled.
So when you have this, when you have these little strips, when you have this bar, you have real money. You have something with intrinsic value.
That's real money, you see?
You have something that must be mined. You don't have something that can be printed.
So what these guys were saying, by the way, because they got these ideas from the gold pumping kingpins, like Peter Schiff and all these other guys. What they're saying is, oh, well, gold can't go any lower because it costs $1,400 to mine. Therefore, it can't go below $1,400. This is what they were thinking. It shows you how stupid they are. Anybody know why? That's just complete stupidity. Anybody? I mean, you can apply this to the semiconductor space. You could apply it to any commodity space, in fact. The mentality is stupid because you know what happens? Yeah, it doesn't matter how much it took to mine the gold. That's why companies, they fucking go bankrupt, okay? That's what happens. When you spend too much, you can't sell it, and you get in debt, you go bankrupt.
Fed could print all these they want. They can put as many zeros as they want. They could put $1 trillion. They can have $1 trillion bill. It won't matter. But they can't produce this. They can't tax this with inflation. This is real money. What can you do with this? I mean, you could basically fill up your car with gas. You can get a tank of gas. Some of you, if you have a big SUV, you might have to break off a second square. You might need 2 squares. But the point is, let's say there's a lot of inflation. Let's say at some point in the future, a few years from now, maybe it costs $200, $300 to buy a tank of gas. I bet during that environment, you can still fill up your car with one of these babies. Now, maybe the gas station owner, maybe he doesn't want more paper. He wants something that retains its value. Maybe he would prefer to be paid in real money, in gold, than funny money, than fiat money. In fact, maybe there'll be a long line for gas if all you got is paper money, but maybe you go to the head of the line. Maybe there's a separate pump if you've actually got one of these. And it might apply for all sorts of things. You can take these to the supermarket. You can barter them individually.
So what he's saying, basically, it's shocking that he's not being investigated by federal authorities. He's basically trying to convince people to use gold over money. And he's basically creating scenarios by showing you visual imagery that this is a possibility. People, they're going to want, you're not going to have to wait in line. I mean, can you believe this nonsense? Well, of course, he wants to sell you this Valcambi garbage, and he gets a nice commish. It's all about the commish, folks. That's why, one reason I got banned by the alternative media. You know why I got banned by the mainstream media? Because, of course, I exposed all the inconvenient realities which panned out. The free trade scam, which nobody knew about until Trump started talking about it 10 years after I wrote about it. The national security threat to the U.S. based upon China trade. I exposed all that. Wall Street, everything. The financial crisis, I exposed all that stuff. Illegal insider trading from Wall Street. But guess what? I got banned from the alternative media as well. Now think about the alternative media. So you probably don't know this, but the alternative media, they're the gold pumpers. They're the gold pumpers, okay? Alex Jones had Peter Schiff on his show many times. In fact, I released some videos showing Peter Schiff was actually violating securities laws because he basically allowed Alex Jones, and maybe he fed him the script, it doesn't matter. He allowed Alex Jones to announce that Peter Schiff Peter Schiff's he has billions under management. When you are saying that, you're lying about the assets under management. You can get kicked out of the industry. In fact, there was a guy, a scam artist, who did get kicked out of the industry for doing that. In fact, the scam artist that did get kicked out of the industry, guess who he was? His name is Chip Hanlon. He was Peter Schiff, Euro Pacific Capital, former COO, who was running a company called Delta Global Financial, who the chief economist was Mike Pinto, if you know that broken clock clown. Folks, I know the whole fucking shebang, okay? This was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Delta Global Financial, Chip Hanlon. I did exposés with all these guys. I covered all this shit 15 years ago. Delta Global Financial, Chip Hanlon, and Mike Pinto were being pumped all over the media as experts. And they were claiming they managed $2 billion under management. They didn't have shit. Mike Pinto, amazingly, nothing happened to him, right? Might want to ask Mike Pinto what was going on with it. Chip Hanlon got barred from the securities industry. The point is that Alex Jones on numerous occasions introduced Peter Schiff as having billions under management when in fact he did not. You kind of wonder how Peter Schiff is getting away with all these episodes, which it seems like he should be sanctioned. It's kind of bizarre. I don't know.
Selling these Valcambi combi bars at a lower price than you can find anywhere in the United States, depending on how many bars you...
He's selling them cheaper than anybody, but guess what? He's charging almost 8% commission. 8% commission. That's for a transaction. You know how big 8% is for a transaction? That's enormous. Now, if that weren't enough, take a look what happened if you listen to Peter Schiff and bought it. Okay? This shit collapsed. You got fucked. And you sat there for years. Ask yourself how many years you're going to hold on to that shit. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 2017, 2018, 2019. I mean, are you going to be selling it at a loss? Are you going to be waiting all this time? Tell me how this protects the value of your currency. When you're spending $2,500 for one of those Valcambi sheets, right, and gold is priced at $1,750 during that time, and it collapses. How is gold protecting the value of your... It's not. It's destroying the value of your currency, even before the 8%. In fact, as soon as you buy it, your currency gets fucked by 8%. Got it? Nobody brought this up back then. This is how stupid the people are that listen to this guy. Okay? Nobody exposed any of this stuff. So we got NPR, another scam media portal. Why? NPR claims he predicted the economic meltdown. Okay? No, he did not. He did not. Take a look. Get your hand. You probably don't even need to buy it. You can probably find it free online by this time. Crash Proof, the original volume. Okay? And you read it. He was wrong about just about every single major theme. He was wrong. Okay? He was wrong. Did he talk about, I want you to read that book and you compare it to just read the chapters I have, how I discuss in detail what's going on with Fannie and Freddie and securitization and the whole real estate market and how that's going to impact the stock market. Just that chapter alone. Okay? He didn't predict shit. Anybody can get on TV and ramble. And this is why Peter predicted it. Why did his clients get steamrolled? His clients, well, I don't know for sure because I don't know all the performance, but there was a infamous release of a client statement after the financial crisis of a guy that lost more than if you had held the S&P 500. He was with Peter Schiff's firm. And apparently he wasn't the only one. There's a lot of people that apparently lost a lot of money. Now, Peter Schiff, during that time, had separately managed accounts. Okay? He changed to mutual funds. We'll get to that here shortly, why he changed. I'm the only person that knows why, and I've talked about it. Nobody fucking knows. Take a look at this one. This guy is such a panhandler, money worshiper, that he's actually posting affiliate links. I mean, think about this. This is a guy, media celebrity, making all this money, selling useless books that didn't predict shit, don't help anybody. But the media says he otherwise. You listen to the fraudulent media, what do you think you're going to get? He's not satisfied. He's pitching links, affiliate links. I mean, that tells you right there who you're dealing with, what a person will go to bring in the last penny. Kind of reminds me of Meet Kevin. In fact, did you guys see the picture of Meet Kevin and Peter Schiff posing together? Kevin's so happy to be posing with one of his mentors. There you go. Everyone's saying it. It must be true, right? Folks, Peter Schiff did not predict the financial crisis. Did not. Okay? Just like they're going to tell you Robert Kiyosaki. Okay? They're going to tell you all these guys. The media lies. They're full of shit. They're a bunch of liars. And I've documented this for years. Somebody show me any of these guys predict the financial crisis. Show me the evidence. Show me the proof. Another claim of hyperinflation here. Yeah, this is the October 24th, 2009. What happened to inflation? Well, after Peter Schiff talks about hyperinflation, inflation actually, we actually get to, very strong disinflation, almost close to 0%. And where does it go from there? Right? Hyperinflation, huh, Peter? Uh-huh. I've got so many of these charts. Here's Alex and Peter. Now, in this, you can see, this is one of the videos where Alex Jones is introducing Peter Schiff as saying he manages billions of dollars. Now, you can look at the records. Peter Schiff was managing maybe 400 million at the time or something like that. Okay, you can look it all up because I certainly did. You can't do that. That's fraud. Peter can't say, "Oh well, he said it." Folks, you understand? These guys, they give them a bio. They give them what to say, how to introduce them. Even if Alex did not read a bio, Peter is responsible. He's responsible for correcting Jones. Say, "Well, no, I manage this amount." Many times he said this. For this alone, he should be kicked out of the industry. But apparently he's got a privilege, a special privilege. Another one. This is funny. Peter's always trashing NFTs and Bitcoin. You all know he ended up selling an NFT. See, when Peter finds out he can make money on something, it doesn't matter. He'll flip-flop. So now let's take a look at Peter's funds. Update them. Let's update the funds here. What do we got? You saw just a few. Now let me just mention, Peter, of course, he's been one of these China bulls, right? China. It's great. It's amazing. In fact, Peter's gone on record saying that China has a more capitalist system than America. Folks, if you're listening to idiots, you deserve your fate. Peter Schiff was spruiking China as this amazing place, okay? And guess what happened? He had to close his China fund because it fucking terrible. He had to close his China fund. Now, speaking of, I'm not sure why this is not working, but let's see here. Now, Peter Schiff didn't always have mutual funds. He had separately managed accounts. You all know what that means, right? He had separately managed accounts. And I'm going to tell you something you'd never heard before. I'm probably the only person that knows about this other than Peter. Not that there's in the financial industry can figure it out, but we haven't thought about it. But Peter, about 2013, went from separately managed accounts to mutual funds. This is the big secret that nobody knows. You know why he did that? Anybody? Separately managed accounts basically means that you got a bunch of stockbrokers, financial advisors, whatever, who are separately managing the accounts. They have clients. Each person has a different portfolio or whatever, right? Versus a mutual fund whereby, everybody's in the same pool, okay? Here's what I believe, and I have evidence to back it up. I believe Peter Schiff went to from separately managed accounts to mutual funds to avoid a potential landslide in legal action, lawsuits due to performance and suitability. Okay? That's what I believe. You see, what very few people know, and I can guarantee you nobody on fucking YouTube knows this, okay? Mutual funds, it's almost impossible to get sued. Okay? It's almost impossible to get sued if you're in a mutual fund. See that? It's actually pretty easy to get sued if you're in a separately managed account, especially if there's a suitability issue. Okay? So, and in reality as well, people can claim things, and if they they can lie. And but a mutual fund, it's almost impossible. I'm not going to get into the reasoning, But one main reason is the mutual fund industry still remains virtually unregulated. There's a lot of bullshit going on. That's what I believe happened. You see, because Peter Schiff, the last thing he would want to do after his performance got out from this client, right? Because that made big waves. Why would he now, his performance is being shown to the world, right? Well, it's to avoid lawsuits. I'm confident that's why. I'd like Peter to address that. Okay? I think that's why. And not just Peter. I'm talking his whole firm, by the way, not just Peter. Okay? Talking his whole firm. So here you go. This is the Peter Schiff's emerging markets. Okay? So this is since inception here, 2011. Okay? So where is it? What? 14 years later. 14 years later. Anybody want to tell me where it is 14 years later? Now, keep in mind, we're talking big-time fees. Anybody remember what I said? Like a valuable lesson about emerging markets and why this pointed to why you don't want to be in some bullshit fund like VT. In fact, I told everybody, if you want to invest in the emerging markets, I said buy S&P. And what country did I tell you to buy? Anybody remember that? I said India. I said India. Okay? Which I've been bullish on for quite a long time. Been a great play. You understand? You understand well why people would want to pay thousands of dollars to hear me, my advice, my recommendations, my analysis for 1 hour. You understand that why now? We're talking world class, folks. Funds pay me several thousands of dollars. Okay? This is simple shit. I'm giving this away for free. The reason why, since you all don't remember why, I'll go ahead and tell you. The reason why I said this is because emerging markets are very volatile. You understand what that means? There's times to be in the emerging markets, like when I recommended China in 2006, and times to be out, like when I recommended to sell before the collapse, right when the collapse was happening, and right when I recommended to get out a few years ago. You understand? They're volatile. There's times to be in and times to be out. You don't hold emerging markets, generally speaking, you don't hold them long term because they're volatile. You're not going to get capital appreciation, generally speaking. Okay? Anybody remember me saying that? Anybody remember me? Where else are you going to hear that? You're never going to fucking hear that anywhere else from anybody. That's my own. That's for me. Okay? You will have people copy me from now on. How do I know this? Because I've been around the fucking game for a long time. And I'm a world-class analyst. This alone is worth a fucking fortune, what I'm telling you. There's times to be in the emerging markets and times not to be in. If you want to remember that, just take a look at Peter Schiff's Emerging Markets Fund. Look at that. You've gotten zero. You've gotten zero for 14 years. Zero returns. But guess what? Peter's made money charging you, dinging you with high fees. You're going to be paying at minimum 1.5%. And by the time you look at, and by the way, I looked at the prospectus, okay? There's a lot of hidden fees. You all don't know this, but mutual funds, all funds hide fees. They don't disclose all the fees. You have to go through the prospectus. If you're looking at the expense ratio and think that's all you're paying, you're a lemon. You don't know what's going on, okay? In Peter Schiff's case, when he goes on these little speaking tours and jets around the world and the country and talks about stuff, I guarantee you he's writing that off as fund expenses for marketing. Guaranteed. I mean, Peter, come on, let's see. Prove me wrong. So take a look. Peter's made money. He's making 2% per year off the assets. You're making what? Nothing. Now, he's going to say, oh, well, you got to compare it to the appropriate MSCI index. Let's take a look what that would be, by the way, which is kind of bullshit. It's especially bullshit for Schiff's case, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So here's the wow. So the category, he gets destroyed. Wow. So you can see even in the category, the benchmark, he got destroyed. We're going to compare this to the S&P 500, by the way, just to show you. You want to talk about devastation? Take a look. Zip. Okay. Since inception, his funds returned 3%, not annually, total. S&P 320%. Okay? 320%. Now, Peter's going to say, oh, you can't do that. You have to compare it to the benchmark. No, you don't. You know why? Anyone know why? Here's why. Folks, Peter Schiff is running a brokerage firm. He's got licensed financial advisors. Peter Schiff's a financial advisor. You understand? When you're selling funds, you've got trailers. Okay? You know what trailers are? Annual fees that are going to the broker. Let's assume they're selling C shares, probably selling C shares. What value is the financial advisor providing? The financial advisor should be telling the customer, hey, you know what? We don't think the emerging markets are going to do so well over this period. Instead, you should shift to this fund. You understand my point? My point is that as a financial advisor, it's Schiff's responsibility to make sure people are in the right funds at the right time. Otherwise, why the fuck are they getting paid? Okay? You understand what I'm saying? Because I know what he's going to say. That's why the MSCI is a fucking scam. It's run by the whole Wall Street establishment to justify all these funds, and it's a bunch of bullshit. Okay? You can make they have a benchmark for any kind of dog shit they have a benchmark for. Okay? And so what do you do? So why do I say it's a scam? Well, think about it for a second. You can have a complete shit fund. Okay? A complete shit fund. And there's a benchmark for it. Well, guess what? You can just model the benchmark. You can look at what the benchmark is, what they're holding, and you can model the benchmark, and you can get as close to it as possible. Oh, look, I'm right there with the benchmark. You understand? If the benchmark is sucking ass, who wants it? How is it relevant? The only benchmark we need is the S&P and the Dow. Okay? That's it.